back to the program. Adam Blair coming up very shortly. Hey, Jimmy and Chad, a game of footy was played last night, and surprise, surprise, we are not talking about set restarts. Have the refs taken a U-turn after the backlash? Brad, maybe the players have.
Maybe.
Also.
That's usually what happens, discussions.
Exactly.
Don't forget, you can call us anytime on the SBS Fence and Toilet Hire open line, 1300 01 1170, just like Trevor has from Rouse Hill. Good morning, Trevor.
Goodness.
What do you got for us today?
G'day, Jimmy. I like Chad. I want him to stay and you and Brandy to go. Finally, someone admits that really Burton just bombs and hopes for the best and's got no creativity in his game. Jimmy, why can't you take a leaf out of his book?
All right, Trevor, I'll take a leaf out of his book. What book are you going to take a leaf out of, Trevor, over the course of the weekend?
Oh, when we towel up the Dragons on Sunday night.
Yeah. Yeah. Any book you've got, or? All right, Trev, thanks very much, mate. You have yourself a great weekend. He's going nowhere fast. That's why, ladies and gentlemen, he's good with numbers. Not so good with words, very good with numbers.
Footy Jersey Friday.
Now, we've got the training jerseys on of Mounties. So the footy jerseys are here, but the training jerseys, of course, the great sponsors of our program and Mounties is Bryden's Lawyers. And I'm happy to say that Alex Miller, the rugby league manager for the Mounties, is in the house. Welcome, Alex.
Mate, thanks for having me on.
Absolutely fantastic. So tell us a little bit about Mounties, one of these big clubs in New South Wales Junior Rugby League.
Mate, so Mounties, it's massive. So from our pathways all the way up, so we run from under sixes all the way through to Ron Massey Cup and New South Wales Women's Premiership, which is, just gives pathways for pretty much everyone in our community to be able to play at the highest level. But also with Mounties Group, giving back to the community is one of the main pillars of what we do.
And Alex, what about your role at Mounties? Give us a bit of an insight into what that looks like on a day-to-day basis.
Mate, I'm sort of probably a little bit of everything in one. It's non-stop. So I've got a great junior rugby league committee that look after a lot of stuff. But from the top end, it's non-stop. I like to tell everyone I get the drinks and the sandwiches. That's about it.
Yeah,
that's the biggest thing. But from recruitment, retention, obviously, the biggest thing for me is building pathways, right? So building in with clubs outside our scope to be able to give players the direct direction, right? We want to see especially our juniors come through our system and be able to play at the highest levels, and that's the core of my job. But there's so many other things that day to day.
How many registered players would be Mounties?
Mate, we'd have about 450, I'd say, plus juniors, and that's
right.
So that's under 16s to open age.
Yep.
And then you go into your contractor where you got 50 plus males and then 30 plus females contracted, which is going through to the top.
One of the great growth stories around rugby league is females. It's been happening now for over 10 years. I've got my daughter that plays out there at Camden, but have you seen something similar at Mounties?
Oh, it's massive, and it's. I'd like to think Mounties is probably at the peak of that, peak of the powers in terms of the ladder called Harvey Norman competition, which is now the New South Wales Premiership competition. But since its inception in 2018, pretty much Mounties has been top of the top. Couple comps, grand finals, many grand finals and semis every year. So it's something we're really proud of.
Samaima Taufa?
She's a
Mounties junior, isn't she?
She is. Yeah. So, she's, she probably led it from the front in all aspects. And she's massive for Mounties. And still, obviously, now we've got a relationship with the Canberra Raiders. There's a big reason, Mimes is down there. And the stuff she does for the club and has done for the club and for Women's Rugby League, it's unmeasurable.
What about some of the notable names, NRL players, other NRLW players that have come through the Mounties system?
Mate, from an NRLW, I remember when I came in 4 years ago, and that's when the NRLW had the expansion. And mate, I think I had 12 females sign NRLW contracts in 1 year. So it was it was crazy. So there's so many to sort of name in terms, you get your Samaima Taufa, but I think I had 9 debut at Canberra, a couple at Roosters, Cronulla. So it's there's a lot of names out there.
Do you get a sense of the strength of the women's game? And I know because they're now more full-time, more professional, not fully professional, but and the fact that there are just more and more numbers coming in, that the standard has been elevated over the course of the last decade.
It's similar to the in the male space. You got your big jump, NRL, New South Wales Cup, and there's still always going to be that massive jump, but it's getting a lot closer, and it's probably. I probably don't think we're going to see it for another few more years, but it's definitely coming with Elisa Fiola, Tasha Gale coming into Harvey Norman. it's it's a really big jump, and it's getting bigger and bigger. So we run female clinics a lot as well. So like last year we ran a female clinic from under 12s Mounties players all the way through, and we had over 250 players, just female athletes.
Yep.
It was huge. And we had, obviously the Canberra Raiders, and you got Parramatta in the Parramatta district, but it's growing. It's non-stop.
Hey, Alex, you mentioned before your role covers from juniors, under sixes, right up to New South Wales Cup. Obviously, that's a very broad range there. Give us, give me some advice. What would your advice be to parents who have young children playing the sport of rugby league on their type of behaviour they should display at games?
I think it's a good, it's something we all need to look into. And I don't think it changes from under sixes all the way through to a 28-year-old playing Ron Massey Cup. There's the same level. So it's just, mate, everyone works hard enough behind the scenes to not sort of be ruined on the weekend, right? Or in that aspect. So referees work just as hard as we do, and it's the volunteers that probably that would hurt the most from that sort of stuff like that. So I think it's just important to realise all the hard work that goes in Monday to Friday to come out and play on Saturday. That should be the easy part, and all the other stuff around it that probably shouldn't play a factor into how it works on the weekend.
How's Mounties going to go? How are you going to go in the Ron Massey this year?
We're not planning to lose, I'll tell you that much. Like I said, I've been here, 4 years, and we've been working really hard and sort of went through a little bit of a rebuild there. But we just entered into a partnership with Melbourne Storm as well. So Melbourne Storm are back in New South Wales Cup, as you know, and it was really good to do a deal down there with Frank, where Frank's going to give my players opportunity to play Cup, and his players come back down to Ron Massey Cup. And just being involved in an organisation like that is hopefully going to take us to the next level.
Who's any players from Melbourne for the Ron Massey this?
Not yet,
week?
not this week, not yet. So what we're
Come on, Frank.
Yeah, so no, they're playing down in Melbourne this week.
All right.
So we try and obviously match up schedule, and we've got to get them up here and so on and so forth. But it's also a good opportunity for our players, sort of. They've been training since November, so it's good to give them first crack and to let them know how they're going.
Alex, great that you can come in. We really appreciate it, mate. And, of course, we share the same sponsor in Bryden's Lawyers, so no doubt they do a great job for you.
Nice training shirts,
outstanding
too, by the way.
for us. Yeah, they are good training shirts. So do we have to give them back?
You can keep those two.
Oh, yes, look at that. Something for nothing, Trevor. Something for nothing. Unable to work due to injury or illness, Bryden's Lawyers are here to help. Call 1-800-848-848 today. Thank you, Alex. Appreciate it. All the best for the season.
Thanks for having me on.
In a couple of minutes' time, we've got Adam Blair. But up next, Shawnee Omerod from Sportsbet.
Powered by Signet NRL Power Banks, I'm Vanessa Gibson. Here's what's making SEN news in Sydney this hour. New South Wales could introduce fuel rationing as shortages and price spikes continue. Tropical cyclone Narelle is bearing down on far north Queensland this morning, expected to make landfall in the next couple of hours as a high-end Category 4 system. A 15-year-old boy has been charged after a firearm incident saw a Dover Heights school sent into lockdown yesterday. And there could be some cost of living relief on power bills, which are set to drop by more than $200 a year from July. SEN Sport is next. The Bulldogs have put a week of headlines behind them to beat the Raiders 14-10 last night to kick off round 3 of the NRL. It was a low-scoring affair amid torrential rain in Canberra. Well, in a bizarre turn, Bulldogs coach Cameron Ciraldo's had stitches on his hand after a window in the coach's box smashed late in the game, leading to calls for an overdue upgrade of GIO Stadium.